Hey there, it is Faith Talk Live. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
Live from Fort Smith, Arkansas. There he is, Craig Smith with us today. Listen to this resume, Dan. It's really cool. Dove-nominated musician, pastor, and ministry leader. How about that? And he loves the movie Oklahoma. Right before
the movie or the actual musical? That's the question.
He can walk to Oklahoma, he told us before we went live, but we won't talk about that. Craig Smith, how are you?
I'm doing great. Thank you guys for letting me have the opportunity to be with you this morning.
Absolutely. You've got a devotional out. It's called Awake in the Dawn. It says here, a simple daily offering of encouragement that leads you into strength and wisdom and spiritual adventure of living the Lord's Prayer. So why'd you put this together? Let's talk about it.
Well, it's based on, it is a rhythm based on the seven main themes of the Lord's Prayer. And I put it together, actually, some guys that I discipled and still do. I used to be a musician, pretty actively involved. And as you guys know, musicians kind of wake up about 11 at night and maybe go to bed about 2 or 3 a.m.
Yeah.
So I've worked really a long time. And as I get older, it's a lot easier to do, but to get up very early. So the guys that I was discipling said, Craig, we know you get up early. Would you wake us up? And so in order for us to remain friends and for their wives to not get upset with me, I said, I'll send a scripture and a paragraph to you guys in an email, and you can just look at it whenever you want to. And then I was kind of looking for a pattern. And so I thought, if Rick, Dan, and Craig were the 3 of the 12 disciples, and we saw the effectiveness of Jesus' life, he had this rhythm of being with large crowds, then he would go and just be alone with the Father.
Yeah.
And he would come back with all this wisdom and insight and effectiveness that they were just observing. And so they went to him and said, can you teach us how to pray? And if we did the same thing, I don't think Jesus would ever give us his B prayer. I think he'd give us his A game. So I just used the Lord's Prayer and just started seeing that it could be beautiful as it is written, or it is multi-layered. You could take each one of those topics and just keep layering down. As with most things in the kingdom, it just seems like there is no digging down to where you find the bottom.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how it developed many, many years ago. And pretty soon it was 7 days a week. And then we did 365 devotions and edited them. And one guy would send it to another. Honestly, just to be totally honest, it was something that unfolded, unintentional for it to get to where it has the opportunity for others to have it in a book form. But the main vision of it, you guys, is just to draw people back into a simple place with Christ. I think that's where we've complicated religion in the West, and kind of getting in the Word and praying and seeing what can come out of that. But then the B vision is, I got involved. It was not on my bucket list, but about 12, 13 years ago, helping at-risk children in different parts of the world. And so all of the proceeds that would normally go to the author, as well as some of the guys on the team, we're not taking anything. And so 100% of the profits are going to go to missions.
Awesome. We'll talk about one of those missions, the Village to Village, here in just a little bit. But Craig, what is it about early in the morning that is just, it seems like it's a great time to just sit and be quiet and be with the Lord?
I love mornings. They really have become almost sacred to me. And as we were talking about it a second ago, it was not my pattern to be up early in the morning, but I can hardly wait now and just because you get up early doesn't mean you're necessarily spiritual.
Right.
I know everyone knows that. But the mornings around 4:30, there's just no one. It's still dark. No one's clamoring for your attention. There's not a lot of noise. And I have a place about 30 feet from my house out in some trees, very small space. It's an 8x10 place. I call it my nook. And that's where I go, and I just spend time with reading the Word and praying, and sometimes just sit staring out into the woods and when it gets light enough. I think we obviously live in an information age and have for a long time. And we have so much, it's difficult to process all those things. So for me, every morning, it resets me. And again, my flesh is not only is it getting aged, but it's also stinks just as bad as it always has. As far as, but by 3 or 4 in the afternoon, I wish it were 4 a.m. again, because you guys know what it's like, all the things that are thrown at you.
Yeah, yeah.
Of course, yeah.
So mornings are wonderful, and David loved them, and Jesus loved them, and so those are good guys to follow.
Yeah, definitely.
Craig Smith with us, Dove-nominated musician. I'm not sure. I don't have my Stryper album here. I don't think Craig was with Stryper back in the day, but he is a Dove-nominated musician, pastor, ministry leader. We're talking about Awake in the Dawn, a devotional that's coming out in September. Craig, you started off talking about the guys that you would send, paragraph to and minister to early in the morning. And that was some years ago. What kind of impact did that have on them? I mean, that's discipling 101 right there, right?
Yeah. First of all, I would never tell them that I've got everything together. So pretty soon in October, I will have been a Christian for 50 years and in ministry about 46 of those years, and have an incredible wife of 50 years. We celebrated our 50th anniversary in summer.
Congratulations.
And well, thank you. And those guys that I began with, you talk about discipleship 101. I think that's one of the things we mentioned early on, is kind of getting back to the simplicity of the gospel.
Yeah.
We're going to have crowds with us, but I still get with many of those guys. And now I'm talking about the guys that I originally started with. Rick.
Yeah.
And those are some of those guys were substance abuse guys, and we've talked about Awaken in the Dawn to be sort of an on-ramp to the freeway, if you will. So it's not all what Oswald Chambers. I tell all the guys that read the devotions, think not Oswald Chambers, think Craig Smith, ex-musician and aging guy. So, but it's just, it's an effort to get more people to the one who does have the answers and the solutions for our sideways culture right now. And that's always been Christ.
Yeah.
And as someone who's a little more simple-minded, I appreciate that. Sometimes trying to read Oswald Chambers in the morning, it's just like, okay, that's just too heavy for my brain right now.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I gave up. I remember when that book was very hot back in the 80s, 90s or whatever. And I tried, and this brain just, help me, somebody, help me.
We're talking to Craig Smith about Awake in the Dawn, and you can find out more on his website, awakeinthedawn.com. He also mentioned kind of the mission side, and we want to talk about Village to Village real quick. Tell us about how that came about and what your vision is for Village to Village.
It actually started, and this is where you'll have to flag me down because I get pretty excited about this, but I've kind of looked like, what is the best way that we might change the culture? Well, how can we once again become a church that influences in a genuine way? And I'm sure you've had so many guests on over the last 2 years that have talked about COVID, but one thing that COVID seemed to do is really give us an opportunity to kind of see where the depth of the church is in America. And while there's incredible stuff going on, I think there's something to be said, as the statistics are now reflecting, that almost half of the people who went to church 2 years ago no longer do.
Right.
And so I think it would be like the three of us sailing maybe in a boat, thinking we're at sea, and man, we're just the depth and the waves are rolling, and this is a great sail. And then one of you guys says, "Hey, get out and see how deep the water is," and I'm suddenly find myself in waist high water, and we're not out in the ocean. And so it's kind of like, in my own life, it was an opportunity to assess, wow, what have I done to clutter all of this stuff up? And Jesus told us he was the way, the truth, and the life. And so, man, he probably meant that. So I'm trying to core back down to those things. And Village to Village was birthed when I was in actually the jungles of Belize. Whenever I say Belize, people say that's the second wonderful, beautiful snorkeling area of the world, but I've only seen the jungles of Belize. So I was in a small village in the bush, and noticed the kids, the young children, smiling, and they didn't have anything, and yet they seemed to be pretty happy. And I just thought, what if we began to reinvest in our children? Again, statistics in the United States are reflecting that our children are perhaps psychologically, after this last 2 years, in the worst possible position that anyone has ever known.
Yeah.
So I met a guy, not in Central America, but in Uganda, and he was Ugandan, and his heart and vision was to reach the children of the people of his village. And he had about 10 to 12 children that he had created a school for there in Kampala, outside Kampala, the capital of Uganda. And we became friends and just began to work, and said, what if we were just to continue to focus our attention on these children and the children in your community, and just really stick with it, be willing to walk with them for the next 20 years if we need to. So over the last 11 years, that we now call it Hope Village Uganda, we've gone from that small hut and dirt floor to 300 children. That's the max that we're able to take care of at this point in time. And so the thing that has just captured my heart is to see some of the kids 10 or 11 years ago that we were taking in, that were 5 and 6 years old, that are now reaching out and reaching to those kids that are now 5 and 6 presently, and watching that cycle of them growing, being discipled, trying to inspire kids that, man, God has this incredible destiny for you, but the whole process of getting them to trust you and then walk with you for a while. So fast forwarding to the end of the story, because I'm not a kid, obviously, anymore. If this were not a video, maybe I could deceive you as well. But my prayer at this point in time is that I hope that I stay healthy enough to where we can get 4 places that we call Hope Village. We have one in Uganda that's pretty much at capacity, but still moving forward. We just established one 2 years ago in northern Thailand. We have a small one in San Salvador, El Salvador, in a pretty tough neighborhood and within the gang areas there. And then we're trying to push a base out of the ground here in Arkansas, where we could just try to get 4 things where they're impressive enough, not in size, but the fruit that's being produced in the lives of people, that people can come and look at us and goes, well, those guys are not geniuses. We could probably do this in our neighborhood also. And so that's kind of what Village to Village is. It's reaching out to at-risk children, and which at this point in time, after the last couple of years, I used to define that as those that were from troubled homes, those that are live in third world countries. But gosh, guys, I'm not so sure now that children at risk aren't just about every child on the planet.
Yeah, very, very true.
Well said. Craig Smith, he's got a book out, a devotional you want to check out. It's Awake in the Dawn. It's coming out on the 16th of September. And as he mentioned, proceeds go to Village to Village there in Fort Smith, Arkansas. My wife and I honeymooned some 40 years ago at Mount Nebo, which I think is near Fort Smith, if I remember correctly.
Not too far away.
Yeah. About a stone's throw or 2 or 10. But it's a beautiful area. Talk a little bit about locally there, about Village to Village. You said you're starting kind of a base there with the kids in what, Northwest Arkansas. How would you describe them?
Well, same issues, same problems, different geography, actually, Rick. I was in the slums of Kampala, walking with my son and a couple of guys from Kampala, Uganda, just a few years ago. And it's not the worst place I've ever been, but still bad. And maybe because I'm getting older, I'm a dad and a grandfather of 3. So I just started tearing up as I was walking through the slums, and my oldest son came back and said, "Dad, you all right?" I said, "Yeah, just kind of let me hang back and figure out what's going on here in my head." And I started feeling like these children have great need. I just walked out of a hut where I held a little infant that had typhoid, and just thinking we may not have those kinds of things in Fort Smith, Arkansas, or the Arkansas region.
Yeah.
But they still are kids that have been blown apart by single parent homes or non-parent homes and that sort of thing. So walking in Kampala, I felt like, I didn't hear any voices, but I just felt this impression that God was going, hey, these guys are in your backyard too, Craig. So we came home and began to work with children in our area here. Just prior to COVID, we had just around 100 kids that we would go. They weren't living on the premises, but we would go and go through the neighborhoods and collect them and get permission from their caregivers. And it took a long time to build relationships. Some of these kids are, none were in the foster care systems, but they were what we call pre-foster care situations. And so we were just trying to reach out to them. And man, the more we got involved with them, the more I just felt like, I don't think retirement is in my future. This is how I want to go out. I want to get people back into the presence of Jesus, and I want to talk as many people as I can into going, well, you have an incredible opportunity to invest in a really positive way and sowing some hope through Christ in the lives of children and teens.
Wow. Talking to Craig Smith, author of Awaken the Dawn. And I guess you're the co-founder of Village to Village. What is your official title with Village to Village?
Well, I'm the founder, but honestly, does anything ever work outside of a team? I don't think so. So
no, it doesn't.
I have some great, wonderful, highly skilled people that work with me. I tell you, the main thing I'm good at is collecting people that are smarter than I am.
And see, that makes you smart because you surround yourself with smart people. Yes. And I just have to say, I love what you said about the kids in Uganda, how as they get older, the 15-year-olds, they go back and start to reach the younger ones. When you can make that cycle, and it's not just the adults or the mission workers there doing all the work, when the kids are discipling kids, that makes a huge difference.
It does. That a few wins like that is what we have tasted and experienced, and that's just the advantage of longevity of being in one place for a while, becoming and just watching that cycle take place, Dan. So yeah, you're exactly right. And then once that gets in your heart, if you have any kind of heart at all, oh my goodness, you can't stop. You've just tasted and seen that there is genuine hope for us if we will apply those values, characteristics, and qualities of this incredible Savior, Jesus.
Craig Smith, it's called Awaken the Dawn, the devotional. September 16th is when it comes out. You said something that we hear quite a lot, Craig, and that we are experiencing in our own lives. It's that God is up to something, that he's been shaking and sifting and putting us into a place to realize what really is important. And it is the basics. It is, getting to people and loving them and caring for them in our own backyard and around the world. So it's just wonderful. It's something we've all been praying for some time. God, do something amazing. And this is what he's doing. And it's so beautiful to see. Thank you for being obedient. And I know you went willingly, but thank you for being obedient and just moving forward. We look forward to talking to you again. We'd love to chat with you maybe sometime in November after the book is out and kind of catch up with you to see what the response has been. Again, it's Awaken the Dawn coming out. AwakenTheDawn.com is a great place to land. Check that out. And Village to Village, Dan has a website there, villagetoVillage.co. And as Craig mentioned, they're reaching underserved communities in Uganda, Thailand, Northwest Arkansas, and around the world. Craig, bless you.
Thank you so much.
You look very young. When you said you were married for 50 years, you look very, very young. So whatever is you're drinking, keep it up.
It's that water in Fort Smith, isn't it?
That must be. It flows down from Mount Nebo, Rick. You need to go back there.
There you go. Craig Smith, check out the devotional, the website, and help village to village. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. I'm Rick Probst.
And I'm Dan Ratcliffe.
This is Faith Talk Live.